Welcome back, super friends. What's the hubbub? I recently did some fan edits to get an idea of a potential June Superman trailer preview. I hope you had a chance to check them out. Jungle MU Score was featured, and again, I recommend checking his socials. I've got reaction and rebuttal requests I'm covering primarily in this edition. Tyrone Magnus, Harsh Critics, Snarky Jay, featuring a related Boba Talks point, and Aaron Gunn Fischer. Yes, Gunn is your middle name at this point, Aaron, which, let's start with your recent assertion.
And I said, you clearly don't know my channel because I am not a Snyder-centric channel. Someone said, maybe you could talk more about Snyder's projects instead of endless repetitions of your imagined continuations of DC. I said, I am not a Snyder-centric channel. That makes zero sense.
You are a Snyder advocate, and that's fine, but call it like it is.
What do these people not understand? It's like they want to call me a Snyder tard or a Snyder cultist, but there's no proof that that's what I am.
I won't call you a tard or cultist, but yes, you are an anti-Gunn and pro-Snyder advocate.
There never has
Period.
been. I'm not a Snyder-centric channel. I absolutely love what he did with DC, but I'm not talking about him on a daily basis like they do.
Nearly every video is why the DCU is doomed and how Snyderverse was peak cinema for you. You'll even call out shelves for Superman toys as a measure now. Any angle that's negative on Gunn and props up Snyder is your approach.
Someone said a bit hypocritical of you. I said, you don't know what the word means. They're like not reading and comprehending what I wrote. He said, you know you don't have to talk about him. That's entirely your choice. My response was, not possible. He's the head of DC Studios. He wrote and directed the voice actors in Creature Commandos. He wrote and directed Superman. And he wrote Peacemaker Season 2. He has made himself the focal point of DC. It's unfreaking avoidable. And he puts himself front and center of every single picture that he takes and does behind the scenes. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Someone then goes on to show all the posts that I've done about James Gunn. They did a search so that they could specifically show, and they said, this is just this month. We still got another week to go.
You have left no out for objectivity to seeing the movie and ability to say it's good if it is. Painted yourself into a corner where if it had 100% Rotten Tomatoes, you'll say, rumor has it he bribed the critics.
I said, I'm sorry you don't know how to read or comprehend. So sorry. Because they don't. They don't understand. That's kind of the whole point of the post. Someone said you'll simply attack another person in the same way just because it's not Snyder. And I said, that's BS. It's not about Snyder. Someone said, dude, you post about him in Superman movie daily, projection at its finest.
If the movie does well at the box office, you'll add hundreds of millions more as the measure of success. That way, you can call it a flop. I guarantee if it did $1 billion, which I don't think it will, as it's rebuilding after a failed DCEU, you'll find a negative out of that too. Maybe, oh, the movie crossed over to kids and crypto sold tickets, not Superman, or some excuse/shtick. Call the spade a spade, and yes, I cover the counter perspective here on my content.
Again, I said, sorry, you can't comprehend what I wrote. Someone said your entire account is dedicated to James Gunn. Talk about Rebel Moon. I said, what does Rebel Moon have to do with DC? This is the mentality of the people who worship Gunn.
You are entertaining through this medium, and your key demographic are SnyderBros fandom who still think they can restore. In July, when Superman fans are in theaters eating popcorn, you bros can stream Man of Steel off your tablet, treat yourself to personal Chef Mike, and have some skinny pop with a Coke Zero also. Next, I wanted to react to Tyrone Magnus, who gave his thoughts on a new Superman flight footage moment.
All right. Flying high to low, cape flapping. It looks good. I think that looks good. I do. I think that looks good. It definitely looks different from Zach's flying. It definitely looks different from Superman Returns. And it definitely looks different than possibly the greatest of all time, Christopher Reeve flying. That's one of the best shots of Christopher Reeve flying, period.
This is why I appreciate his takes. If it looks good to him or not, he will say so. Even if an admitted Snyder fan, he's not pushing a narrative that it's impossible whereby the movie can turn out to be good.
Just the color, just everything. It just hits. The cape, just everything. The stance, his position in the air, just perfect. I think that shot is from Superman 3 after he ends up taking out the the evil version of himself. However, but I gotta say, look, in these days, everything's done with CGI. And there's even some shots in like Man of Steel that I don't particularly really like how he looks flying. But there's other shots that are absolutely perfect, godlike, epic, goated. So this one right here, I like the way he looks flying for the most part. Yes, I can see that. I mean, you know, sometimes people will be, I think, a little bit too nitpicky and say, oh, it looks a little bit too much CGI. But I remember when Zack first made Man of Steel, and I think that they had said that it was easier to animate the cape without the symbol on the back. And that's one of the reasons why he doesn't have it on the back. But they did a damn good job of making the symbol flap along with the cape. So since they did, I'm going to have to give him some kudos for that.
I agree with him on the cape flapping as effective, and you actually feel a sense of speed from it.
The movie is not out yet. And when it comes out, just like I'm giving you my honest opinion of this, I like the flight. I will give you my honest opinion of the movie.
On the other end of the spectrum is harsh critics. Freedom of speech is a right, and it's also my freedom to say he is being a clown.
Got mad because I was talking about that big foreheaded scallywag Rachel Brosnahan, which, like I said, I never seen her in any of her films, but she sucks. In this photograph right here, she looks pale. She looks like she doesn't have any color to her. And the first thing I noticed is her big ass forehead.
Pretty sure if you squeezed his nose, it would honk. Once again, you sidestep having substance and choose going after looks.
Like the chick looks like Skeletor. Like literally. That's just my opinion. Now, if I was to rate her looks, I'll probably say maybe she's a 5 at best without makeup.
Quite honestly, you seem bizarre here. You may be more bizarre critics than harsh at this point.
I've eaten a lot of bugs of that size, and they have a bitter aftertaste, and that one had a sweet finish.
You went after a beautiful, accomplished actress simply because it is Gunn's Superman movie. You said she is a 5 on your scale? Guess what, Harsh? That's still 5 times better than you, seriously. Get a clue. Dunking on her looks or acting ability is a losing battle for you. There was a request to react to Snarky Jay as well. It was nice to see she picked out her favorite nightgown for a recent video. Here I see a familiar criticism.
We do need a dichotomy between Superman and Clark Kent himself. Clark Kent has to be the clumsy one that makes mistakes and is goofy, and Superman should be a little more stoic. And I'm kind of getting the vibe that both Clark Kent and Superman are the exact same person in this. I will say, however, that even though David Corenswet might not be doing it for me and that the suit is so ill-fitting, I want to focus on the fact that if you look at him in that shirt, the guy looks stacked. He very obviously put in the gym time for this, and then you put him in that suit and he looks like a little boy in pajamas. It's just a horrible suit. I think it's terribly designed. I don't like the colors. I don't like the structure of the suit overall. The tighty-whities over the suit, I don't give a shit what anybody says. They feel super vintage, and I'm not a fan of them.
Once again, this is covering Superman in nearly a year, one type of way. It may not literally be his first year, but his initial handling of gigantic situations are from a less experienced Superman. His suit to me is also representing an earlier stage where he has the more Kryptonian-looking shield that's not the full S. I believe we will see other classic Superman symbols in later movies along with other suit versions.
And that kind of puts a damper on the whole thing, because if Superman doesn't look great, then that's already a strike against him. My biggest worry for this movie is that there's just too much crammed into it. We know that this isn't technically a Superman origin story, and I don't need another Superman origin story. Just like Batman, we already know the origins of Superman. The problem is that it is this Superman's first outing, and it does feel like there is just too much going on. There's too many characters. You got Guy Gardner, you've got Mr. Terrific, you have Lex Luthor, you have Hawkgirl, you have all these different characters already being involved, and it just feels like too much is going into a first outing for this guy.
As far as the stale complaint of too many characters, let's look at Boba Talks example.
A lot of other films with the name of, about one person, do not really get the same heat. And I know it's completely bizarre. I've said this before, and so have many other people. It's a bizarre kind of comparison because it's not in the comic book genre, but that's not what matters. It's the principle that matters here, right? So when you look at Christopher Nolan's and Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer, that movie is titled after the main character, right? But then, my God, if you haven't seen it, look at the cast list for that movie. Can you even begin to imagine if Superman had that kind of cast list and what people would then say? But nobody thinks about that with Oppenheimer because guess what? I don't think it has the same lens of scrutiny fitted onto the camera of the audience looking at that movie at the time like Superman does.
Exactly, because it is Superman. He's facing some higher level of scrutiny. Honestly, you could say that about James Gunn as well, because this is a Superman movie, even though he directed what I believe is one of the best superhero trilogies of all time.
The movie, to me, seems like it might feel a little bloated and overstuffed, when what I'd like to see is a little bit more of what kind of Superman this guy is. I think the drama aspect to it seems interesting. I like that we're getting that sort of superheroes overstepping kind of thing. I mean, that's always been something that some of these films have touched upon, but it's a theme that I'm not exactly tired of, because I think it does sort of ground a character like Superman, who's really fantastic. It grounds him more in our universe, and we're kind of able to have better conversations about it. Like I said, I don't think this is a horrific trailer. I don't think it looks bad even. It's just underwhelming to me. I really want to be more excited about this than I am, but I think I just have this internal bias already about James Gunn and James Gunn's work that is probably stopping me from enjoying the trailer more than I should have. And I will say that I don't think a lot of the things look particularly great.
In the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he is not getting any benefit of the doubt from naysayers. Why presume from, 5 minutes of total footage out there that he won't balance a movie with multiple characters? Psh, just crazy. If anything, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies showed that was a strength of his. I never felt like Star-Lord was a side character as the lead either. He was the main character in an ensemble movie. On some news, the rating for Superman is PG-13, which that is in line with Snyder's Man of Steel. So, sorry haters, it's not a G movie for simply featuring crypto in it. Also, it looks like May 30th may have some type of a new promotional release. I can't wait to see what that might be. I hope you enjoyed today's edition. As always, look up, not back. Eyes to the skies. Until next time, take care of yourselves and others. That's what the hubbub is all about.